There's two types of family scenarios regarding transgender quote-unquote children, or non-binary children, so to speak, that can unfold. One, of course, being when a family has a child who self-declares that they are suffering from gender identity disorder or proclaims to be something other than the sex they were assigned at birth, quote-unquote. And then, of course, there's the opposite side of the coin, and that is the LGBT emphasis on the T feminist ideologues who pretty much force their beliefs and their ideology onto children, raising their children to be gender neutral, all under the guise of giving their child a choice to choose for themselves who they want to be, if they want to be anything at all. It's up for exploration because gender's an infinite spectrum. And of course, in one regard, you can kind of feel for parents who ordinarily probably didn't want something like that to come into the lives of their child. Same as any illness or anything for that matter. But for the LGBT emphasis on the T feminist brigade, it seems that that's what they live and fucking breathe for. Why would you openly put unnecessary pressure on your child or children? Why would you put unnecessary confusion and, it seems to me, deliberately fucking up your child or children, all because you believe your ideology is gospel? And 9 times out of 10, I've said it in multiple videos regarding these parents that raise children in this manner, it's always boys. It's only gender neutral parenting when it's a boy. And they always seem to be feminist, avid feminists, so they raise their little girls to be girls if they wish. But the little boy can't be having that little white boy growing up to be part of the evil patriarchy. And this is no different. The little Freudian slip that this feminist gives in the interview that she had sums it all up, nonetheless. So, let's get into this quickly.
Won't happen anytime soon.
We did not assign a sex at birth, which means when they were born, they had genitals and we know what they are. We just chose to acknowledge that those genitals don't indicate anything about gender.
But the thing is, though, they do. This crazy notion that the LGBT emphasis on the T pseudoscience brigade will have you believe that genitalia, anatomy, etc., it doesn't mean anything. And of course, the reason for that will be, of course, the transgender and intersex people of this world. And the reality is that 99% of children who have a penis are boys, and the same can be said for 99% of girls who have a vagina. Of course, there will be deformities and abnormalities, but let's not beat around the bush here. The majority are, in fact, exactly as they appear. But not in the world of the feminists, the social constructionists, the Marxists and the LGBT emphasis on the T brigade, who seem to have too much of a grip on the narrative at play here.
Meet Sparrow, a smiling, curious, adorable 11-month-old baby.
Is this a baby?
Boy.
Your next question might be, is Sparrow a boy or girl?
Can I see
Boy.
Elmo?
The answer,
Can I see Elmo?
to be determined.
I mean, who in their right fucking mind thinks that that is a beneficial thing to do to your child? How is your child meant to come to a concrete conclusion as to whether or not they are a boy or a girl when they have no idea what a boy and or a girl is, because you have raised them in a gender neutral environment, removing any notion regarding gender or genders into their lives? Explain to me. And of course, what happens if your little boy, in this case, starts veering towards acting like a girl? Unbeknownst to him that that's not what he should be doing, because you are obviously going to allow it to happen. So then your little boy declares that he thinks he's a little girl, for example. Are you going to allow that? You're quite prepared for a little boy to have no idea what a boy and a girl are, thus could in turn end up identifying as a girl purely because he has no sense of what he's saying, and of course you will be fine with that. And there's this crazy notion that they always say that it's up for the child to choose. The child never asked to be raised this way. You forced this form of parenting on your child. So don't sit there and justify it by telling the fucking world that the child gets to choose for themselves. The child has no fucking idea what sort of parenting you are forcing upon them. And I do not think they will thank you for this in later life. And it's strange how you're not doing this to your daughter, just your little boy. Commonplace.
My own mother did not know Sparrow's genitals for the first 3 months, even though she was living with us at the time.
You're doing so good.
Sparrow's parents decided to raise their baby gender neutral, meaning Sparrow will decide gender when older.
You know, this it's as if they're like raising children to be gender neutral in order to prevent them from feeling the pain of ending up in the wrong body, so to speak. As if they've got a transgender child, so they're raising it from birth to be gender neutral in order to prevent them suffering with dysphoria in later life. But that would only be beneficial to your child if your child was in fact a transgender of sorts. The chances are though that your child's not, or it wouldn't have been before you started interfering unnecessarily. But the point remains the same. This is unnecessary and fucking...
Even Sparrow's birth certificate says sex unknown.
How is this legal, man? Fucking hell. This is becoming more and more accepted by society as we move further and further down the degenerate rabbit hole, and I really don't know where the ending is. But the fact of the matter is, it's time after time, it's constant fucking around with children, their lives, their upbringings, and everything around, everything that regards them. And it's always under some fake guise of progression, inclusion, diversity, or other words similar to that. And it's always on the basis of fallacies conjured up by a bunch of leftist, feminist ideologues. And the only people that it seems to benefit are the people that have drawn up these ideas themselves. It doesn't benefit children. How can that possibly benefit a child that have a fucked up birth certificate that declares them to be some form non-binary in a sense when they never asked for that? Guarantee you in later life that boy is going to look around him and wonder why wasn't he raised like all the other little boys around him? Why did his feminist mother decide to fuck him up but allow his sister to grow up to be normal? It's unreal, man.
We are in no way prohibiting Sparrow from having a gender, and we're not...
That's great. That is so good of you. What a great parent. They're not prohibiting Sparrow from having a gender. It's up to Sparrow to decide for himself if he wants to be a specific gender, or maybe he wants to be multiple genders, or maybe in fact he doesn't want to have a gender at all. All, of course, potential answers for Sparrow to come to himself as a result of this form of fucked up parenting. Ordinarily, this would never have come into Sparrow's head, but this woman has made it so that it will in time, probably. Unnecessary and ludicrous.
Forcing them to be one gender or another.
The only people that would have an issue with being so supposedly forced to be a specific gender are, of course, kids who in turn end up being transgender. And as I said, they are a totty, minuscule amount of the population. So that's just a cop-out as far as I'm concerned. If you are raising your children, and this goes for all these people, that decide to raise their children in a gender-neutral manner because some kids out there might end up transgender, it's fucking ludicrous. It's absolutely ludicrous. Raising your child a certain way just on the off chance. Cop-out.
Here comes the baby.
Ari says the family was inspired to raise Sparrow without a known gender after their older child, Hazel, discovered gender around the age of 4.
Hazel, what do you say when someone asks you if you have a little brother or sister? How do you respond?
I say, I have a little sibling.
Mummy's got you well trained. But still, I don't get that justification that's been given there as to why this child has been raised gender neutral. This kid, I presume is a girl. Maybe it's a boy as well, I don't know. But if it is a girl, and they decided for themselves that they were a girl at the age of 4, imagine my shock if that is the case. Hardly unnatural, hardly unheard of, nonetheless. What then gave the inclination in the mother's head to then go, oh well, if my daughter decided that she was actually a daughter, then I might as well decide to raise my little boy gender neutral. I mean, what the? I don't get how one led to the other in that regard.
Because they're my little sibling, not sister or brother.
Have any of you slipped up?
No one here in the house has.
Oh, is that right, eh?
Those genitals don't indicate anything about gender. So instead of using he or she, we're using they and them for this baby's pronouns until they're old enough. Don't indicate anything about gender. For this baby's pronouns.
He, what?
Sparrow to grow up in an environment devoid of gender.
Because that's not real life.
Yeah, it's not real life. We want them to get to experience all genders. So like them.
All genders. How many genders are we talking here? Just the average male, female, and non-binary, or is the fucking catalogue of genders on the infinite spectrum coming into effect here? Maybe you want your child to be a two-spirit demi-fluid.
Them going out in public and getting treated like a girl, and then getting treated like a boy, and then getting treated like someone you can't tell, shows them what the diverse options are.
Oh yes, because your child at that age really knows all about the diverse range of approaches people will have to them. Do you really think your child really knows what's going on around him at this age? If you really think that, then you are really off your rocker. At the end of the day, the only reason that your child is receiving varying approaches from people is because nobody knows what your child is. So of course, it looks like it could be a boy or a girl at that age. That's the confusion. But if you think that fooling people shows somehow that gender really is a matter of perception and not anything based on fact, then quite frankly, again, you're off your fucking rocker.
Shows them what the diverse options are.
Sparrow's family isn't alone. A closed Facebook group called Parenting Theybies has roughly 350 members.
Now, what if Sparrow says to you in the coming years, am I a boy or a girl?
I would tell them that they're the only one who gets to decide that.
What the fuck, man? You're the only one that gets to decide that. And the only reason that would ever be a beneficial approach to parenting, as I said, is if your kid happened to be a transgender. But to do this to a child that's perfectly healthy is nothing short of disgusting. And I'm sorry, I don't really give a shit. Maybe this woman really does dote on her children, but quite frankly, anybody that thinks that this is an appropriate way to raise their children is backward as fuck. I'm done, man, before I say sign of regret. Peace.